Did you know that the temperature of the ocean can change the weather around the globe? Mysterious forces lurk beneath the water's surface, currents and temperatures that can shift global weather patterns. They're not superheroes or villains from a comic book, but natural phenomena known as El Niño and La Niña. When El Niño, or the boy in Spanish, makes his entrance, he brings with him unusually warm ocean temperatures in the equatorial Pacific. But don't be mistaken. Warm here is not a mere invitation for a comfortable swim. This heat causes weather to dance to a different tune, dramatically shifting atmospheric circulation and shaking up weather patterns worldwide. Then there's La Niña, the cooler sister, or the girl in Spanish. When she graces us with her presence, she delivers colder than average sea surface temperatures in the same region. This chilly event makes the weather sing a contrasting melody, creating its own set of global weather changes. Such mesmerizing dances of El Niño and La Niña are part of a larger rhythm, the El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. Swinging between warm and cool phases, this climate cycle spins its own unique weather quirks. Understanding these phenomena is crucial, as they do not merely sway the weather in a specific corner of the Earth. They set off a domino effect, influencing weather patterns across the globe. Droughts, floods, heat waves, cold snaps. Many of these weather events can be traced back to the state of ENSO. Furthermore, these forces of nature don't just meddle with the weather, they also affect ecosystems and human societies. Underwater, changes in ocean temperatures can disturb everything from minuscule plankton to colossal whales. On land, alterations in rainfall and temperature can sway agricultural yields, potentially sparking food shortages and economic instability. The dance of El Niño and La Niña in the Pacific Ocean is a tale of water that affects everything from tiny plankton to massive whales. Now that we've let you in on this secret, let's explore their fascinating history. The terms El Niño and La Niña sprung from a rich history. Do you know where they came from? Origins of names can often be as intriguing as the concepts they represent, and El Niño and La Niña are no exceptions. These terms, which describe significant weather phenomena, have their roots in the Spanish language and the observations of Peruvian fishermen. Let's begin with El Niño, which translates to the little boy or Christ child in Spanish. This moniker was chosen not due to the phenomenon's character, but rather its timing. The warming of the Pacific Ocean near the equator, which defines El Niño, typically begins around December. This period coincides with the Christmas season, a time when Christians celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, often referred to as the Christ child. Hence, the fishermen who initially noticed this pattern aptly named it El Niño. Now, let's move to La Niña, which means the little girl in Spanish. If you're thinking that this name was chosen in response to El Niño, you're spot on. La Niña represents a counterpoint to El Niño, characterized by cooler than average sea surface temperatures in the same region of the Pacific. This contrasting phenomenon needed a fittingly opposite name, and thus La Niña was born. You might wonder why such colloquial names were chosen for such impactful weather phenomena. Well, it's essential to remember that these terms were coined by people who were directly affected by the events they were naming. These were not distant, abstract concepts to them, but rather tangible, observable changes in their environment that had real impacts on their lives. The names they chose reflect their cultural context and the human tendency to personify the forces of nature. So there you have it. The names El Niño and La Niña, far from being random labels, are rooted in the cultural observations of those who first identified these weather patterns. These names, rooted in culture and observation, give life to the scientific phenomena we're discussing. El Niño and La Niña are more than just names. They represent complex climate mechanisms. But what exactly happens during these phenomena? Let's dive into the scientific processes behind El Niño and La Niña. At their core, these events are all about shifts in sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean. Normally, trade winds blow from east to west across the Pacific, pushing warm water towards the western Pacific, leaving cooler water and upwelling in the east. This is our normal or neutral phase. But every 2 to 7 years, these trade winds weaken or even reverse. When this happens, we have an El Niño event. The warm water that was piled up in the western Pacific sloshes back towards the east. This warms the surface waters of the central and eastern Pacific and suppresses the normal upwelling of cold, nutrient-rich water. This redistribution of heat influences atmospheric pressure, winds, and rainfall patterns, leading to a cascade of global effects. On the flip side, during a La Niña event, those trade winds are stronger than usual. This pushes more warm water towards the western Pacific and increases the upwelling of cold water in the east. The result? An even greater contrast in sea surface temperatures across the Pacific. But how do these changes in the Pacific Ocean translate to changes in weather around the globe? Well, the ocean and the atmosphere are intrinsically linked. Changes in sea surface temperatures affect the atmosphere above, which in turn influences the winds, pressure, and rainfall patterns. This chain of events is known as teleconnections. During an El Niño event, for example, the warmer ocean temperatures in the eastern Pacific can lead to more convection and rainfall in that region. This can cause flooding in Peru and drought in Indonesia and Australia. Similarly, a La Niña event can enhance the normal patterns, leading to even drier conditions in the west and more rainfall in the west. These changes can also affect the paths of storms, the development of hurricanes, and even influence the jet streams. And these impacts aren't confined to the tropics. They can ripple out, influencing weather patterns across the United States, Africa, and beyond. So in a nutshell, El Niño and La Niña are like dominoes. A change in sea surface temperatures in the Pacific sets off a chain of atmospheric changes that can topple weather patterns around the world. Understanding these mechanisms is key to predicting and preparing for these shifts in our global climate. So, as we can see, these phenomena are powerful forces that shape our world's climate. We've talked about the science, but how do El Niño and La Niña impact our daily lives and the environment around us? El Niño and La Niña aren't just fascinating meteorological phenomena. They have far-reaching effects on the world around us. These effects ripple out from the Pacific, influencing weather patterns, agriculture, wildlife, and even global economies. Weather patterns are the most immediate and visible impact of El Niño and La Niña. El Niño typically brings warmer temperatures over the winter for the northern hemisphere, leading to milder winters and potentially devastating droughts. On the flip side, La Niña often ushers in colder winters, increased rainfall, and sometimes more intense hurricanes. The agricultural sector feels these weather changes acutely. In regions like Australia and Southeast Asia, El Niño's dry conditions can lead to severe crop failures. Conversely, La Niña's heavy rains may cause flooding that can wipe out entire harvests. As you can imagine, these extremes can have profound economic implications. Wildlife also experiences the effects of these climate oscillations. For example, changes in sea surface temperatures during El Niño events can disrupt marine food chains, with ripple effects reaching as far as the polar bear populations in the Arctic. Similarly, La Niña's increased rainfall can lead to lush growth in some areas, providing a feast for herbivores, but also potentially leading to overpopulation and disease. Of course, all these impacts on weather, agriculture, and wildlife have significant economic implications. From increased costs for disaster response and recovery to fluctuations in global food prices, El Niño and La Niña can influence economies across the globe. Historically, some of the most significant El Niño and La Niña events have had dramatic consequences. The El Niño event of the late 1990s, for instance, caused widespread droughts, fires, and floods, resulting in billions of dollars in damages and significant loss of life. In understanding El Niño and La Niña, we gain insights into the interconnectedness of our planet's systems and our place within them. We've traveled a long way from understanding El Niño and La Niña to their origins and their impact on our world. We've discovered how these seemingly distant weather phenomena, named after a Christ child and a little girl, are in fact deeply interconnected with our daily lives. El Niño, with its warm waters, and La Niña, with its cooler counterpart, are not mere oceanic quirks, but powerful climate influencers. affecting everything from rainfall patterns to food production worldwide. We've also seen how understanding these phenomena is not just for scientists or climate enthusiasts. It's crucial for us all, because we are all inhabitants of this planet. The more we comprehend the Earth's climatic rhythms, the better we can adapt, prepare, and mitigate the impacts of climate change. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it's also a tool for environmental stewardship. Remember, every drop in the ocean counts, and so does our understanding of it. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep caring for our precious Earth.